Hi, I'm Sunil Surendran K. I'm the blogger of itinfratutorials.com. Today we are going to discuss about infrastructure as a code. Let's go and see what is the prerequisite for this video. The prerequisite of the video is the viewer should have a basic understanding on Azure and viewer should have a basic understanding on infrastructure as a code. Let's see what we are going to discuss in this video. The video talks about ARM template and Terraform. So using an ARM template and a Terraform, we are going to create a virtual machine. At the end, we are going to delete the virtual machine we created. So infrastructure as a code is used to automate the infrastructure deployment with minimal human interaction. So there are two tools which will be used for infrastructure deployment in Azure. The one is ARM template and the other one is Terraform. Microsoft as a cloud provider, it provides its own ISC tool which is called ARM template. It's just a JSON file which allows to deploy resources on Azure in a few steps. If you are quite familiar with JSON, ARM template is very easy for you. Then next is the Terraform. Terraform is quite popular because it is an open source tool. It is created by HashiCorp. And another plus point of Terraform is Terraform supports number of cloud providers like Amazon, Google and Microsoft. So as a developer perspective, knowing Terraform will help me always because I can work in Amazon, cloud and Google platform. Our plan is to create a virtual machine using the ARM template and Terraform. So first we should have an idea about what all things are required to create an virtual machine. In Azure, the first we have to create a resource group and in that resource group we have to create network. Then a subnet we have to create. Then we should have a public address applied because we need to access that machine from our network. So it should have a public IP address. Next is a network security group we have to assign. So all the firewall configuration we will mention in this layer. The next is the network interface. Next, storage account. The virtual machine. So in the ARM template and in the Terraform, what all are the resources we are going to uh, use to create all those things? For virtual network, we can access the Microsoft.network. Under that, there are virtual network resource which we can use, and it have a sub property to create subnet also. So that's how ARM template will create it. In Terraform case, we should use Azure ARM virtual network. Like that, for each thing, there is an particular resources we should access in ARM template and Terraform. So let's see how the ARM template and Terraform looks like. The ARM template is a JSON file and it's an Terraform, it's an HCL language. The basic structure of ARM template looks like this. It starts with a schema, then it's have a content version and it have a parameters and it have resources. The schema talks about which schema it have to be written and validated against. The content version which talks about the version of this ARM template and the parameters that user can give as an input into this ARM template and the resources. So our virtual network, public IP and the network security group, network interface, storage and virtual machines comes under here. So we have to mention all the details about these resources, and this resources is an array of objects and the output. So if we come and see the Terraform is very simple. It have a provider because it support many cloud platform. We have to first mention to which platform it is pointing to. So now I am mentioning like Azure RM, so it can understand like it is pointing to Azure. Next, variables, it is called as input variables. So user can give the required inputs for to run this Terraform. So all the resources here is mentioned like this. Here we are mentioning virtual network, subnet, public IP, network security group, and network interface and storage account. So this is how the structure of an ARM template and Terraform looks like. Let's go a little more deep into the parameter level, how it looks like in the ARM template and the Terraform. So I created a JSON file with the three parameters. One is admin username, admin password, and the location. So it will user have to give all these details. And here in the Terraform, I created input variables with the admin user, admin password, and location. And also I'm asking a resource group. And the type of the admin username is string. So let's see how a resource is created in ARM template and Terraform. This is how the resources are defined in the ARM template and the Terraform. Here we are taking an example of creating a virtual network and subnet. So in the ARM template, we have type as Microsoft Network slash virtual networks, and name and location we have to mention, and address space we have to mention. Next in the subnet, we have to mention the name of the subnet and the properties. So it is just another resource in the Terraform. So how a user can understand this is how a JSON file have to be written. For this, we can visit the documentation of Microsoft. So Microsoft documentation clearly talk about the structure of the ARM template. I will mention all these link under my video. This is how the ARM template look like. It will have a schema, content version, API profile, parameters, variables, functions, resource, and output. So in this video, we used schema, content version, and parameters, resources, and output. They clearly mention which all are required and which all are not required, as it is an optional one. And parameter, how to mention the parameter. So if you want to see how to create a virtual network, just go to the Microsoft Azure template link, and here you can see there are many resources. Here we want to see the network, so let's go to network. Under networks, you can see the different versions. I will select the latest version and I want to create virtual network. So virtual network. Here I got a sample to create how a virtual network resource. Let's go and see. Okay. So when I'm mentioning the Microsoft Virtual Network object, it have its own properties. So the properties includes name, type, API version, location, tags, properties, resource. In this, the mandatory is mentioned as yes, and the others are not mandatory. So this is how we can, if you're new to ARM template, you can go to the particular resource which you need to create in the documentation and just copy paste the from its example and modify according to a requirement. If I go to the Terraform also have a good documentation. So if I want to create an network or a virtual machine, I can just have to go to the link, the Terraform docs and providers, and I have to mention Azure. Then will come to this page. If I want to create a virtual machine, it will come under computation. So here, compute resources, virtual machines. So I will get nice examples, so which I can use and refer and create a virtual machine. Let's go and see a ARM template and Terraform side by side. So my left side is an ARM template and the right side is an Terraform state file. So as we told, this part, three parts we mentioned: schema, content, parameters, resources, and output. Here, this top part, two versions. Here we are mentioning the providers, and parameters in Terraform is like input variables. So I'm mentioning parameter admin username. Here we resource group we are mentioning, and here same admin username we are asking, and the type is string. I mentioned the type as string. Here also I mentioned the type equal to string. Metadata description, I am mentioning user for the virtual machine. Here the description equal to user for the virtual machine. Like that, we are mentioning admin password and location. In Terraform also, we are creating input variables like admin password and location. Let's go to the resources. So in the resources section, if I compare side by side, here I am creating a resource called virtual network. The same I'm calling resource and Azure RM virtual network. I have to mention name, location, address space, resource group. As we see in the Microsoft documentation, the mandatory is type, API version, name, and location and property. So that I provided, and properties includes address, prefixes, and subnets. Subnet, I'm creating a new subnet. In Terraform, it's an another resource. So I am here mentioning resource, which I need to create a subnet, and I'm mentioning all these details. Again, coming down, so we have covered the first layer, which is the virtual network. The virtual network and subnet is created using ARM template and Terraform. Let's create the public IP address and network security group. So this is my public IP address section, resource group. Here I'm mentioning the API version, name, location, and properties of it. Same like that in the Terraform, I'm mentioning Azure public IP. I'm calling the resource and I'm mentioning all these details. Like that, we are creating network interface. Here also we are creating network interface, and in the network interface I'm mentioning API name, location. Here also name, location, resource group name. All these things are mentioned. Coming down, then virtual machine. Virtual machine, yes. So here my name of my virtual machine is my VM. Here I'm mentioning as like ARM deployment virtual machine, and the username and password. So the parameters which we got a input from the user is applied like this, and like same in the Terraform, this is the user input. So it is taken like this. So this is the difference how it looks like. So the difference you can see that my ARM template is like around 178 line of code, and Terraform is only 164. And Terraform looks little more neat, and I can mention the comments. In ARM template, it is not possible. So actually, that ARM template looks little complex than the Terraform. So this is how the ARM template and Terraform is will be triggered. ARM template, we have to use the PowerShell commandlet, and we have to call the template file the JSON file. So it will deploy all the resources which we mentioned inside that JSON file. In Terraform, there is a three steps. We have to make initialize the Terraform using the terraform.exe. Then we have to plan it and we have to apply it. These are the three steps we have to do in doing with the Terraform. Create a resource group for the ARM and for the Terraform. Let's create a resource group. So I'm calling the command like new Azure RM resource group with the name ARM deployment. So yes, the resource group is created with ARM deployment, and also I want to create a resource group with Terraform deployment name. Terraform deployment. Yes, the Terraform deployment resource group also created. Let's go and see in the portal. So you can see that ARM deployment and Terraform deployment two resource group created. If I go and see inside the ARM deployment, there is no resources available because we just created the resource group, and also in the Terraform deployment there is no resources created. So let's go and create the resources from the ARM template and the Terraform template. I'm doing a deployment using a new Azure RM resource group deployment commandlet, and I'm passing the JSON file as an input, and the resource group name I'm mentioning as ARM deployment. So that is the resource group we just created deployment. And yes, it's asking for the admin username, which we mentioned as an parameter here. Let's give admin username. Sunish and password to location South India. So it will connect to the Azure and it will create the virtual machine. So it will connect to the Azure through the Azure CLI. So actually I logged in into the Azure using the Azure CLI commandlet in this particular from this terminal. That's why this JSON file is able to connect to the Azure and able to create the resources in the Azure. Yes, the deployment is completed using the ARM template. You can see the output of the deployment name is ARM create virtual machine, and the resource group to it is succeeded is ARM deployment, and it is state is succeeded. Timestamp and also it is given. So if you go and see in the portal, you can see all the resources are created. Yes, our virtual machine also created. So let's trigger our Terraform file and point to the our Terraform deployment resource group. So I have to call the terraform.exe. So this terraform.exe can be downloaded from the Terraform website for the Windows and for Linux and also for the Mac OS. We have to keep that terraform.exe under the location where our Terraform state file is exist. Let's run Terraform init, which will initialize it. Yes, that step is done. And next is dot Terraform plan. So I have to give the virtual machine password. So I'm just mentioning login at 123. Name same Sunish I'm giving. Location South India and resource group. Here we will mention as Terraform automation. So it will plan. It won't do the action. It won't go and deploy the resources. It will just connect to the Azure and it will take the state from the uh, current state from the Azure and it will compare to what we have to create. It's telling that it have to create 8 resources. Let's go and apply the. I want to apply it. So dot apply. I want to give the password again. 23 name location India and resource group name is Terraform deployment. It is asking for the confirmation. So let's give yes. It's creating the virtual machine. You can see under the Terraform deployment, all the resources are getting created. So apply completed. Resource group resources added are 8 resources added. So using Terraform state file, we deployed the infrastructure. So if I come and see here, you can see all the virtual machine related resources are deployed and it's up and running. So using ARM template and also using Terraform, we deployed the virtual machine into Azure. So the ARM template and the Terraform done the same action. Only the difference in the how it is written. One is in a JSON format and one is in the HCL language. So we want to delete that resource group which we created initially. So by deleting the resource group, it eventually delete the resources inside it. So it will clear off all the virtual machine related resources that we made for demo. The commandlet used to remove the Azure resource group is remove hyphen Azure RM resource group. and I have to mention the resource group name, ARM deployment. Yes. So this will delete the resource group from the Azure. So thank you for watching. We'll come with new topics in another video. Thank you.